Hello and welcome back to my Humankind tier list, a little compilation where we decide what the best civilizations are to pick in every single era of Humankind. As you can see in this campaign, I went with the Maya in the classical era, but it is time to level up to the next. So let us see what we can pick in this era. So starting off, we have the Aztecs. The Aztecs are a militarist civ. They gain that plus 30 war support, meaning you can go to war immediately. I've mentioned it before, it's a really good bonus. What we have here is any help here? That's something that is very difficult to pronounce. Huitzilopochtli's glory. Yeah, it's just crazy. We got plus 2 land movement speed on all of our units and negative 20% unit industry cost. Really good. Scales incredibly well, like we had with the Mycenaeans as well. They had the same kind of bonus. If you've taken both the Aztecs and the Mycenaeans, you're going to get plus 4 movement speed and negative 40% unit cost. Really good. It scales very well. And it stacks as well. It's not a unique bonus, like I said. The Mycenaeans have something remarkably similar, but it scales so nicely, and yeah, it's good. Moving on to their emblematic quarter, we have the Sacrificial Altar, giving you faith, giving you stability, and giving you influence per adjacent district. These bonuses they're okay. Yeah, they're not terrible. In the medieval era, you will be wanting to spread a bit of faith. Having extra stability is always nice, especially in this era where you may be coming across problems with stability. You've got 3 eras where you've been building districts and you don't yet have access to the Commons Quarter. So you may be running into the issue of, oh god, my cities are starting to have problems. You got the Sacrificial Altar, plus 5 stability, it'll do you nicely. But the big bonus here is it unlocks the Sacrifice Population action on the city. It'll apply a celebrating status for several turns, but you do lose pops. So I mean, I wouldn't use it because I think pops are worth a lot more than that. But celebrating does increase your stability. So if you really need that stability, it's a double-edged sword, really, right? If you're in need of doing this, you've already had a little bit of a problem with your stability. It is something that you would do only in the dire circumstances, but in those dire circumstances you will be happy that you have a Sacrificial Altar. And their unit is the Jaguar Warrior, which is a very good unit that does not have any combat strength penalty from damage. It is fervor. It's just like the Geisati in the previous era for the Celts, and they are very good. They also don't take any strategic resource, no iron, no copper, so you're going to be able to get these out no matter what kind of situation you're in. So you're going to have a good time with them. 33 combat strength, they're really good, but there's nothing really special about them. The times when I'd use the Aztecs is if I've gone Hittites in the previous, in the ancient era, then going with Aztecs here is going to really set you up nicely for a strong combat-focused end game. But otherwise, the Aztecs just really don't cut it for me, and I think I put them in a C tier. Yeah, so I think that's pretty fair. Moving on, we have the Byzantines, the Romans, who look really cool. Not gonna lie, I really like the way that the image is. Form a character here, quite like it. What the Byzantines are is a merchant civ. All the things I've said about merchant civs in the past apply here. This is the era where merchant affinity bonus, the mediation, is really going to come into its own. You've probably found a lot of other cultures, a lot of other empires, and you will be trading quite a lot at this point, and then people will be trading with you instead of your enemies, perhaps, and you will get a lot of value out of merchants. You also have plus 5 money per alliance on all cities. If you're playing multiplayer, this is very easy. If you're not playing multiplayer, this can be a little bit difficult, because the AI generally doesn't like being allies, especially not for too long. They're very easy to get annoyed at you. So this is much more of a multiplayer bonus than it is a single player bonus, but it is really good. Plus 5% money per alliance is kind of awesome, especially if you manage to have allies in the late game. This scales phenomenally well, especially if somebody has forgotten that you are the Byzantines and you have this bonus. We also have the Hippodromos. You get +5 money per horse. This includes horses that you import, so getting an extra bit of money there it can be really, really good. You have a bunch of strategic trade routes with other empires. Import all of the horses that you can find. You'll be having a hell of a lot of money. You can really boost your income in this era. You also get +3 money from the Hippodromos, and +5 money per district, not per district, yeah, per district that you build, but per region. Say you've got a capital city with 5 regions under it. You build 5 Hippodromuses and you import 5 horses. That's +25 money per Hippodromos. That's 125 money. It's really scaling phenomenally well. You also have +25 money per adjacent horse. So if you have your city, your capital city with, 5 regions, there's maybe 2 horses in them. You got the imports as well. You get 125 money from that. You build 2 of them next to the horses. You're scaling super well. Money with the Byzantines it's probably the strongest money-focused civ in the game, certainly in the medieval era. This is phenomenally powerful for money. It's really underrated, and I think definitely worth another look, because you can make bank. You can make actual bank as the Byzantines if you have the horses around you, if you have strategic trade networks with other empires. This is so worth it. And finally, you have the Varangian Guard, which are just a melee unit. They require 2 iron. They're very strong with 40-30 strength, but they can't retreat. So if you are outnumbered, if your enemy manages to surprise you with a large army, your entire army cannot retreat as long as 1 Varangian Guard is in it, which can be... They're technically inflexible. There's no real bonus there. Yeah, it's great when your enemy has Varangian Guard, because they can often take battles that they shouldn't. But yeah, it's a negative, but the Varangian Guards are pretty strong, so it kind of balances out. Where would I put the Byzantines? I would pop them in A tier. Potentially on an S tier. Like I said, this Hippodromos is so phenomenally powerful that it can be S tier, but it is something that I would have to see where everything else lies before we have a look at this. So, moving on to the next one, we have the Franks, which is an aesthetic civilization. So you're looking at the cultural blitz, and you're looking at ideological proximity, always maxed out. So if you want to be integrating independent peoples, that's going to be good for you. But also you're getting plus 10% influence throughout the entire game. This is really, really good. This will scale phenomenally well throughout the entire game. Great stuff. You have the Scriptorium, which is based on faith, but also giving you science. You get plus influence per adjacent district, and it counts as a research quarter. So you have a Scriptorium, you put it next to a horse, which is, giving you extra science. You surround it with more research quarters like horses as well. You're going to be really boosting the amount of influence you get from this district. It's really good. And then we have the Franki Milite, which is a heavy cavalry unit. Receives a higher combat strength bonus when charging. However, it does require 2 horses and 2 iron, which can sometimes be a little bit difficult to get. But getting higher combat strength bonus when charging just means that you're gonna be great on the first turn, charging into the enemy. But when they counterattack you, you're gonna have a little bit more of a struggle. But with 39 combat strength, you've got a very, very good unit that can kind of pull its weight in the next era as well for a good long time. I would say for the Crown Lands, you're getting a good deal out of this. But then the Scriptorium, situational, bordering on like its high average, and the Franki Milite it's a unit. So we're gonna put that in B tier. It's a decent B tier. I mean, it's the only one in B tier right now. We'll see where it lies when I put other things in B tier. But right now, Franks are pretty good. Ghanians, let's have a look at what we get with the Ghanians. They're another market civ or merchant civ, so very nice there. They have +5 money per number of access to luxury resource and number of accesses to strategic resources. So the more you trade, the more money you make. You can get quite a lot of money with the Ghanians. You got the luxuries market, money per number of trade routes. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. Absolutely fantastic, and we'll go back to that. Also +5 money, +3 money per adjacent market quarter and traders slot, blah blah blah. Alright, this here though is the big bonus you get, money per number of trade routes. You can very easily come into situations where you've got 60 trade routes. You build luxuries markets in every single region that you have. You don't even need to put them in anywhere special. You can be having situations where you have luxuries markets giving you 40, 50, 60 money per luxuries market. It is phenomenal. It is a vastly good bonus that is pretty underrated, and can really boost your economy quite a lot. You also have as your emblematic unit the Meharist, which is an anti-cavalry cavalry. They get a bonus combat strength when fighting mounted units, and they're also cavalry, so they're very good at fighting archer units. Obviously their weakness is still going to be spears, but I mean, whatever. Very good unit. If your enemy is playing a civ that has a lot of cavalry, say you're playing against the Franks, or say somebody has the Mongols, the Baharis will do you very well. For the luxuries market, the Ghanians are going up. Life of Luxury is great. It's something we've seen before as well. Money per number of access to strategic resources. Like, it is such a good money civ that I'm gonna have to put it next to the Byzantines, and possibly even higher than the Byzantines. Byzantines, you can make more money with them, but it is also situational. Whereas with the Ghanians, you can make money no matter what situation you're in. You don't need to have a certain bit of terrain or strategic resources in your country in certain places to make value out of the luxuries market, to make value out of the life of luxury. This is fantastic. This is really, really good. So I actually would put them ahead of the Byzantines. They're both really good money-making civs. It's, like I say, it's just the only reason that the Byzantines go below it is because it's more situational. Really good money. Next up, we have the Teutons. The Teutons are an expansionist civ. They have all the problems that we've gone through already. I don't like expansionist civs at all. They are spurred by faith. +1 money per state religion follower, and +1 science per state religion follower. If you have a large population, say you've gone with the Harapans into Celts, into Teutons, you'll have a lot of pops. Maybe you've gone with the Celts and you've had their religion bonus from their emblematic quarter, and it spread your religion to your rivals, and they also have a lot of people of your faith following. A lot of their people following your faith. This can be worth quite a lot. This can be worth a hell of a lot. Very easily come into situations where you're making +200 money and +200 science from this alone. It scales really well. And it scales better the further you go into the game, until, you know, +1 isn't really worth that much. But yeah, it's fantastic. It's a great little bonus. And then we have the Kaiserdom, which gives you +1 faith per district. It gives you +3 faith per adjacent district that count, and it also counts as a maker's quarter. So you're going to be spreading your faith a lot more in this era, and every time you spread your faith, you're gaining money and science from it. So, phenomenal little combination here of these two. Kaiserdom is fantastic. For cavalry, you've got the Teutonic Knights, which are cavalry that require 2 horses and 2 iron. If you can get that, great. If you can't, it can be a little bit of an issue. But they also have a Proselyte. They gain bonus combat strength against enemies with a different state religion. So you may be having a lot of issues if you've managed to convert your rivals to the point where they are your religion, but if they are your religion, you gain Spurn by Faith on them. If they're from a different religion, you gain a bonus to your combat strength against them. So you're having, you know, it's a good unit. It's a very, very good unit. I think the bonus is +4. I might be wrong about that, but I believe it is +4, and it's a good bonus to have. Teutons are a good civilization. They are very strong in the faith, if that is the direction you're going with your run. If you're wanting a lot of a faith-based campaign, they're really good. I think I put them in a low B. These two together are really good, but if faith isn't as powerful as it needs to be for this to be any higher in the tier list, in my opinion. Moving on, we have one of the best civilizations in the game, without a shadow of a doubt. Firstly, you look absolutely phenomenal. You look sexy as hell. Secondly, you are a builder civ, which all the bonuses that I've already gone over with builder civs still count. They are really good. Landraiser is something that you will be using. Gaining stability when you complete a district's construction is something that you will be getting a lot, because you're going to be building a lot of districts, because you're really good at industry. +3 industry on Maker's Quarters. If you've got Maker's Quarters, which you should have through your previous eras, this Servants of Magnificence is going to boost them. This applies to the entirety of the game. But what you get that is better than anything else, probably the best emblematic quarter in the game, certainly in this era, possibly like it's S tier in the game, is the Barret. This is amazing. +1 industry per population. Say you've got a city. In the medieval era, it can be quite common to have cities with 40 pops in it, if you've gone with a food civ earlier on. You get +1 industry per population for every single one of these that you build. You've got to spread your country to 5 regions, then you've got, 200 extra industry on your city. Fantastic. It's also food, getting +5 food from just building the Barret, including, building it next to other farmers' quarters that get that adjacency bonus. The Barret is great. It means you can not worry about food and have just, focusing on the industry, really, without having too much of a worry. Fantastic. The Barret is phenomenal. +2 industry per adjacent river as well. Rivers aren't uncommon. You build this in something like a Nile Delta looking thing, you can honestly see Barrets with 70 or 80 industry on them without too much of an issue. They are phenomenal. They're one of the best emblematic districts in the game, and if you are the Khmer, you will be wanting to delay your medieval era level up to I think it's the early modern. You'll be wanting to delay this so that you can build as many Barrets as possible. It is that good. It is something that will set you up for the entire game, and honestly, I could put the Khmer S tier right now, and it doesn't, this alone puts them in S tier. This is also fantastic. This is also fantastic. Being a builder civ is fantastic, but the Barret alone puts them in S tier. Looking at their emblematic unit, though, they have the Danvigaja? I don't know. It's an elephant with a bloody ballista on the top of it. What more do you want? It's a ranged unit that can move in, fire its hefty ballista, and then also move away after the fact. That tactical flexibility is great. Of course, they are very expensive with their industry, but you've got Barrets and you're an industrial civ, so industry is not something you are going to be worrying about. The only thing to worry about here is 2 copper and 2 iron required to build these Danvigajas. But once you've got the Danvigaja, you are set. They are phenomenal combat units. The Barret is amazing, and this is the easiest S tier pick that I've done so far. This is just a phenomenal civ that if you are the first person to get to the medieval era, you fucking click confirm on this instantly. You do not delay the classical era when you've got Khmer available. You just don't. It's that good. Khmer, fantastic. Moving on, we have the English, which again, you look pretty snazzy, and you are a food civ. I generally don't use greener pastures. +1, getting a pop for some influence. It's not something I really rate that highly, but getting 7 stability when you gain a pop is something very nice. You have serfs labor, +7 food per number of attached territories on city or outpost. Really good, especially if you're going for a one city run. This can be very, very powerful. Meaning you don't have to worry about food quite so much, and that's always something you like to see. They have the Stronghold, increasing the range by 2 for ranged units standing in it. Your ranged unit at this point is going to be the Longbowmen. We'll go into them in just a moment. But Stronghold for that is very, very good. +5 stability also counts as a fortification, so things like, I think it's called City Watch, that you can have as an infrastructure to give you +5 stability on your fortifications is very, very good. Also counts as a farmer's quarter. So you surround a stronghold with farmer's quarters, you're going to have a lot of food in there. It's very good. And also +3 combat strength for combat units in or adjacent to the district. That unit that's going to be in the district is the Longbowman. The Longbowman has 32 strength, +3 if it's standing in it, +2 range on their nice range of 4, and it's very good. It's indirect fire, so it can fire over mountains just like any other archery unit, but it doesn't have anything really extra on top of that. It's just a very good archery unit. Nothing really more to say about that. Longbowman is just really good. Put it in a stronghold, it's even better. It's a very good defensive civ. If you're being attacked, English is something definitely I would consider going with for that. Where I put it in the ranking, I would put it probably in a mid-B tier, probably a high B tier. I'd say it's better than the Franks. I don't think it's better than the Ghanians or the Byzantines, and certainly nowhere near the Khmer. I think that's pretty fair for the English. So, moving on, we have the Mongols. And now this is another one of those civs that have some pretty powerful bonuses. First off, they're a militarist. You got that war support equilibrium. You're going to be having no issues on going to war if that is something you want to do. You also have mounted mayhem, +100% ransack gains on an army. So if you're ransacking an enemy city, enemy districts, enemy strategic resources, you're going to get double the amount of money that you otherwise would. But also double the food. And why am I saying food? Because skipping over the order, which is the same as the Hunnic one that we saw before, it's kind of shit. We have the Mongol Horde, which are nomads, which gather food from ransacking. Just like, this is basically the Huns again. You're basically taking the Huns into 2 eras with you, and you're going to be making so much food from it. It is unbloody believable. It is unreal. You're going to have a huge population. If you've gone Huns into Mongols, your enemies hate you, but also, yeah, you've got so much population. You've got probably the biggest army in the game. The only issue is you're going to have issues with attaching cities, right? You're not going to be able to attach any outposts to your city, so your cities are going to be small, your outposts are going to be underdeveloped, and you may end up in situations where, oh, I've just unlocked this wonder, but I can't build it anywhere because my city doesn't have the ability to, and I can't attach places to it. Not having an emblematic quarter of note is really kind of bad. It honestly is really kind of bad. When you consider you've got things like the Khmer with the Barret having the best emblematic quarter in the game versus literally not having one, I don't rate the order very highly, but it doesn't matter because that Mongol Horde with Nomad getting +100% ransack gains, meaning you're getting tons of money, you're getting tons of food, you're getting tons of units and population. The Mongols can't be any lower than A tier, just like the Huns. I'd put it around, yeah, I'd say Ghanians, then Byzantines, then Mongols. I would be happy with that. It's A tier. It's A tier. It can't be anything other than A tier. But I would say it is situational because going Huns into Mongols, you're really tailoring your game in a very specific direction, and that direction is not going to be big cities. So just be aware of that when you're moving to the next era, and potentially an influence civ so you can attach all those outposts to your now very, very small cities. Maybe something you look into. But yeah, that is the Mongols. Moving on, we have the Umayyads. Now, the Umayyads are a science civ. I think it's the first science civ we've done in this era. Yeah, I think it is, actually. Interesting. Only one in this era. So you'll be able to turn all of the industry and money into science, and be able to research one era in the future. So the early modern era, you'll be able to research their texts. If you've gone very science focused and you have a lot of science before becoming the Umayyads, you can really do well with going an extra era into the future. It means that you can research things like the seafaring mastery, I think it's called, where you can put boats in deep water. You can research the Carrack from the next era, which means you've got a deep water or deep sea ship, which means you can be the first to do circumnavigation. You can be assured to be the first to reach the New World and spread your influence in the New World. And this is really where science, other than, you know, the industrial era, the medieval era is where science really comes into its own. You are the only scientist civ in this era. You're the only one. So being the only one to be able to go into the next era's science is a massive bonus. Being the only one to be able to go into the New World, massive bonus. The New World often has some of the best trade goods, and if you can lock that down much earlier than anyone else is capable of getting to the New World, you're going to be in a very, very good situation. So yeah, while I don't rag on scientists much in other eras, specifically in the medieval, the Umayyad science bonus is something to really take note of. You also have +5 science per alliance on all cities. Multiplayer, this can be done. In single player, you're probably not going to be getting that much of a bonus out of it. Allies are fickle, finicky. You're not going to have too much of luck with it, I don't think. But yeah, it's okay if you can get it. Their Grand Mosque is quite good. +3 science per number of attached territories. You want a lot of territories to attach to your cities. This is another one that really leans into that fewer number of cities, or like one city runs. You get quite a lot of bonus out of that. +5 faith is, yeah, it's okay. And it counts as a research quarter with an extra research slot. It's okay. Generally, the best thing about the Grand Mosque is for big cities and having the science there and going into the next era with the science bonus. Finally, we have the Harass, which is a cavalry unit which requires 3 horses, which is, I think, the first time we've seen any unit require 3 resources at once, other than, you know, 2 iron, 2 copper, or 2 iron, 2 horses. But 3 of a single resource is, I mean, it's pretty rare. They are obviously they're a cavalry unit, so they're good against archers, but they also have the ability Enforcers, which drains additional stability during sieges. So very good on the offense. You can, you know, if you want to wait out your opponent, it's going to hurt their stability. It's not something I've ever seen really be that valuable, if I'm being honest. It's okay, but not. It's not great. I mean, this unit is not why you're picking the Umayyads. It really isn't. Honestly, the Grand Mosque and the Learned Friends. Also, none of this is fantastic. None of this is. This is like C tier stuff. This is all C tier stuff. But specifically, the scientist in the medieval era being the only medieval era science culture brings the Umayyads up into B tier. And that is this is the only reason. In a situation where you are the first person to get to the medieval era, honestly, you're picking Khmer. But if the really, really good civs are taken, say you're third, right? Khmer's been taken, the Ghanians have been taken, there's no horses near you, which, I mean, who cares? This takes 3 horses, but horses, I mean, it's pretty kind of shit anyway. You don't want to go Mongols because you like big cities. And you may be trapped in a little corner of your continent and you need to escape. The Umayyads are really good, and in that case, I would put them in A tier. But that's situational. And B tier, I think, is definitely where they belong. Maybe like maybe below the Franks, but higher than the Teutons, I would say. Purely for the ability to be the first one into the New World is so valuable. It is really that valuable. And finally, we have one more. We have the Norsemen. The Norsemen are a militarist civ, so, you know, extra war support, go to war whenever you want, cool, whatever. We have Stormborn, +3 naval movement speed on naval units and +2 combat strength on naval units. In the medieval era, this is not a bonus that means anything at all. In single player, this is not a bonus that means anything at all. In multiplayer, this is a bonus that is ridiculously powerful, because in multiplayer, you are going to have situations that you will not get in single player, and that is big fleet battles and waging wars for control of the ocean. If you have a continent to yourself, or if, say, you and your ally have a continent to yourselves, and you are facing off against an enemy that wants to invade you, you're going to need a navy. The AI is very terrible at using navies and moving armies across oceans, but the players can be very, very good at it. And when you get to things like battleships, when you get to things like submarines, this combat strength bonus is very, very good. If you go with the Germans as well, when you get into the industrial era, who also have this kind of bonus, you're going to have the best navy in the world. And that is incredibly valuable. Being able to control the seas is something that you can't really... you can't sniff at it. It's great. It's great. It really is good. We also have the Naust, which is another harbour replacement building. If you've previously got the Kothon, if you've previously got the Haven, and now you have the Naust, you've got a string of naval buildings next to each other, all benefiting each other, doing some really good work with each other, synergizing very, very well. It counts as a farmer and a market quarter, so building market quarters, maybe building the VOC warehouse next to it is going to give you a lot of value. But you're going to get food per adjacent coastal water, food per adjacent lake. Always worth it, always nice to have a little bit of extra food. Plus 50 money from Ransack on Empire. So if you've built, say, 5 Nausts across your empire, in the medieval era, you could definitely be building more than 5. You go and ransack somebody, hey, quite possible to get 500 gold. Get, you know, that's 10 Nausts. 500 gold from a ransack on something as inconsequential as, you know, a copper deposit. It's very, very valuable. It's really, really good. And honestly, if you've got an ally who is aware that you have a bunch of Naus and want to kind of gamily boost each other, if they have an outpost with a copper mine, you're not really getting anything from that copper. You just get the Norsemen to go in, burn it down, get 500 gold. They rebuild it, you burn it down again, get 500 gold, and you can just kind of boost that way. Obviously, you'll have to think of something to give them in return, but it's very, very good. It's very good. The Naust is a really good building. And finally, you have the Langship, the Langship, whatever. It's very good. It ignores penalties from deep water, which means you can be the first to circumnavigate the world, even before the Umayyads. And it's also a naval transport, so you can be the first to get to the New World. Again, you know, kind of fighting with the Umayyads for that ability to get to the New World first. Of course, historically, the Norse were the first to get to the New World, so this totally makes sense. It being a naval transport and ignoring penalties from deep water, yeah, you can get to the New World first. Fighting with the Umayyads, you could probably get there first. Naust is great. Stormborn, kind of bad for the medieval era, but going into the industrial in multiplayer, this is fantastic. I would put the Norsemen at probably higher than the Umayyads, probably higher than the Franks as well, maybe below the English. Yeah, that seems to be... I'm pretty happy with that. There's no D tier guys in this one. C tier, we've got the Aztecs, we've got a lot in B tier, and then you've got, you know, Khmer is just... If there was a thing above S tier, they'd be going there. But as they're not, they're in S tier. And yeah, I'm happy enough with that. And that is the final of the medieval eras. I'm pretty happy with the tier list so far. I hope it's helping you in your games of Humankind. Let me know in the comments if you think I am wrong on anything or anything that I have got wrong. Do you rate the Teutons really highly and I'm totally wrong about them? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching. and I'll see you in the next era. Bye-bye.